Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here to break down the two-game early NBA slate as well as the four-game main slate for Tuesday. A couple things before I get into the video. If you're new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos talking about NBA DFS as well as NFL DFS. I'm also running a weekly $20 PayPal giveaway. How it works, all you have to do is leave a like and a comment in the video. That's one entry in the giveaway. Max one comment though per video. So start with my Monday night NBA video that I uploaded yesterday. We'll go throughout the week. We'll end up my Monday night video at the end of the week. So however many videos I've uploaded for the week, I'm going to give away that many times. So if I have 10 videos uploaded for the week, I'm going to give away 10 times. And again, the winner receives $20 PayPal for myself. Also, I will have videos up for the NFL slates, the playoff slates. I know I've been slacking a little bit with the NFL content, but I will have videos up for both those wildcard slates. With that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So first, let's look back at my lineup here from Monday night. So this is what I went with. Jeff Teague, Dinwiddie, Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Isaac, Bam Adebayo, Kent Bazemore, Christian Wood, and Whiteside. So I made a tweet about Sanders saying he's the new David Fizdale, the coach from Minnesota. His rotations are just such a headache. It's so I don't even know why I took a shot there. Teague did get injured. I think that's part of it. Why he got so short on his minutes. He only played 20. In the previous two games, he got 27 and 37. So I was expecting closer to 30 at his price. So he was the one let down. Again, I think the injury did have something to do with it. But Sanders and his rotations have just been a real headache to try and figure out. The rest of the lineup, though, pretty solid here. Again, Dinwiddie was someone I really liked. He was underpriced. Jimmy Butler and Bam were chalky. They were a little bit of a letdown against Washington. Such a great matchup, and I really expected a little bit more. They were fine. Like Jimmy Butler hit value, same with Bam, but I expected a little bit more from both those guys. Jonathan Isaac, with no Aaron Gordon, him and Vucevic stood out as good plays. I went there at, I believe it's at 6.5K. Bazemore, wasn't super excited about him, but he was a value guy to fit in everyone else. Again, Whiteside, he was the thumbnail of the video for a reason. He was super popular, but he was just way too cheap. And Christian Wood is a value guy, obviously super chalky as well. But I think it's going to be a losing night for me because I did not have Jordan McRae. Now, Jordan McRae, I was perfectly fine with a 4.6K. Once Brad Beal got ruled out, I did have more interest in those guys. I didn't expect him to be 50% owned. He was 50% owned and had a career night, over 50 fantasy points. So that's probably going to be the dagger into why I don't cash. And Lillard is also really popular. You guys knew I really liked Lillard, but he's going off as well. So don't think it's going to hold for me. But sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles in DFS, and he's got to move on. So that's basically it here for my review of Monday's lineup. So let's take a look at first the early slate. So it's weird they have an early slate here, 2 p.m. Central games, and then a main slate of the games at 6 p.m. Central. So let's first look at the early slate really quick. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time since it's a two-game slate, but we'll give some thoughts here. So let's just go to utility. I'm not going to go position by position. So on this slate, there's not a whole lot to spend up for, right? The highest priced player is Joel Embiid. Now, he's going to be super popular. I think he's obviously, the best spend up under 10K. Anytime you can beat under 10K, you got to like it. In a close game, he gets about 35 or so minutes. So Embiid is obviously, in my opinion, probably the best spend up. He's going to be super, super popular. You can fade. There are other options, but I think he's a really, really safe option there at the top. Ben Simmons, so if you want to pivot off Embiid, you could go Ben Simmons, who has been amazing. The minutes been so good, too, for him. 37, 38, 39, and 43 minutes. So he's locked into almost 40 minutes a night. He's a guy that fills up a stat sheet. I love playing guys like that. So if you want to pivot off of a high-owned Embiid, you can definitely go Ben Simmons. You can play them both, too, if you really want to. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts with those two Philadelphia guys. Have interest in both those guys. I think Embiid's going to be way more popular, but you can go with either one. And then the Boston guys. So with no Jaylen Brown, I have a lot of interest in the Boston guys. With Tatum, Kemba Walker, and Gordon Hayward, all three stand out as really solid plays. Now Tatum, I guess would be my least favorite because he's the most expensive at 8K, but I still have a lot of interest here. Charlotte, they don't play a whole lot of defense. Let's actually look at, I forgot to go over some numbers here. So Boston, Charlotte right now sitting at 208.5 with Boston favored by 6.5 points. And then Philly, Indiana sitting at 212 with Philadelphia favored by 1. But yeah, the next guys that stand out really are those Boston guys with Tatum, Kemba. Kemba probably my favorite play at his price, 7.4. Just stands out as way too cheap. Revenge game narrative as well here against Charlotte. And then also Gordon Hayward, whose minutes went up to I played 35 the last game. He's a guy I think gets right around that again, and with no Jaylen Brown, there's just a lot of usage to go around. And then also, Marcus Smart, I have some interest in. Now, his first game back, they did limit him. He was on a minutes limit. If he's going to not be on a minutes limit, I have more interest. So that's obviously something we'll have to monitor going into tomorrow. But let's talk about some other guys here. So again, the two Philly guys at the top and the Boston guys really stand out as great plays. Sabonis, you know my love for Sabonis. It's a tougher spot here. I do like the price. I think he's certainly in play, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play him. So if you land on Sabonis, it's fine. But I think my priorities are probably one of those two Philadelphia guys at the top and then a couple of the Boston guys as of right now as far as spend-ups go. But Sabonis, you can always go there. You know he's going to get, probably close to 35 or so minutes if he stays out of foul trouble. And, he's been really, really productive this season. So I have no issue wanting to go Sabonis. Am I going to go there? Probably not. I haven't really messed around with roster construction too much, but don't think I'm going to get there. Now, Devontae Graham at 7.6K. Him and Rozier are just playing consistent. They're playing consistent minutes every single night into the mid-30s. He has been amazing this year. He's been a really great surprise here for the Hornets. 47, 48, and 42 fantasy points last games. Now, obviously, this is a tougher spot, but his price dropped a bit. So I think Devontae Graham very much in play there at 7.6K. I think he goes a lot lower owned compared to those Boston guys, but I do still have some interest. Now, Malcolm Brogdon does stand out for me at 6.9K. So he's been dealing with that hamstring injury, but he says he's at 100%. So this will be something we'll have to keep an eye on. If he's going to be on a minutes limit, you obviously can't go there. But if he's good to go, no minutes limit, then I think he probably gets over 30 minutes. And he's a guy that I don't think kills you at this price at 6.9K. So I would have some interest in Malcolm Brogdon if he's not going to be on a minutes limit. Tobias Harris at 6.7K. So I just wanted them to raise his price. I'm not a huge Tobias guy when everyone is healthy, but just because he's scoring dependent, so he's very up and down, but his highs are pretty high. His lows are somewhat low, right? 22 fantasy points in 36 minutes. He also had 12. So, if he's not shooting the ball well, he can hurt you, but the upside is huge if he's shooting well. So at this price, I still think he stands out as a really solid play at 6.7K. Again, I already talked about those Boston guys. Hayward, Kemba, and Jason Tatum really stand out for me. And I also really like Rozier at 6.3K. He's just too cheap. 36, 38, 36, 37. The minutes for him and Devontae Graham are secure. It's a revenge game narrative as well. And his price is too cheap. So I do like Rozier a good amount as well. Josh Richardson at 5.9, probably not going to get there. I get it if you want to. The minutes have been really secure for him. The minutes have been really secure for all five of the starters. But 33, 37, 36, and 40 minutes. I understand if you want to go there, 5.9K. Aaron Holiday, not for me with Malcolm Brogdon back. That's just a cross-off. Horford, probably not for me at that price. PJ Washington at 5.5, just one of those, he's okay. I don't know if he has huge upside. Miles Turner, I do have some interest here at 5.3K. It's a really bad spot against Embiid, but they're probably going to need his defense out there. So, his minutes are a bit up and down. He can play, low 20s minutes, or he can play in the mid-30s. So, at 5.3K, I have some interest in him just because of that price tag. Again, not the best matchup, but I do have some interest there. TJ Warren at 5.2 with Malcolm Brogdon coming back. Don't know if I'm going to get there. And as Cantor, the minutes have been somewhat secure, 24, 18, 23, 17. Obviously, it would be better if he was playing into the mid-20s consistently. The issue is the price tag. 5.1K for a guy that, could get under 20 minutes. It's tough to pay up for that, even in a really good spot. So I do have interest in Cantor. I'm just worried about the minutes. Again, Marcus Smart, if he's not going to be on a minutes limit, I would have a lot more interest there. Jeremy Lamb, 4.7, one of those. He's okay. Both Brogdon back, probably not for me. Zeller, Bridges, and Biyombo. I don't know. Like, Biyombo's okay at 4.4, I guess. I mean, he probably gets low to mid-20s minutes. Cody Zeller coming out the bench, his minutes have been down. I don't think I can do that. Bridges at 4.5. Again, the minutes have been a little bit down on him. I think he's okay. I guess of those three, probably Biyombo would be my favorite, but still, those guys really don't stand out a whole lot. Trey Burke at 4.3K, that's just way too expensive for him. McConnell, you can't do it with Brogdon back. Daniel Tice at 4K, I think stands out as a pretty solid cheap option. He's not going to play huge minutes, but somewhere probably around 20, and at 4K, We do want to target bigs against Charlotte, so I do have some interest there in Tice. There's not a whole lot of great value plays on this 2-game slate at least. Malik Monk's a guy you can take a shot on. The minutes have been all over the place, but at 3.9K, he has flash upside, so I don't mind taking a shot there. Again, there's not a whole lot of great value plays. We can even consider a guy like Justin Holiday. I know Brogdon's back. He's been terrible, but he's almost min-price. I think even with that starting lineup fully healthy, I still think Justin Holiday gets about 20 or so minutes. So, you can take a shot there. Marvin Williams, minutes have been a bit up and down. You can take a shot. He's almost min-price. Not going to feel great about it. Same thing with Batum, right? Like, these guys are guys you can have dart throws in, but you're not going to feel great about it. So, all in all, again, brief overview of the slate. I think it's, one of those two Philly guys. So let's just say we plug in Embiid. And then I really like those Boston guys like Kemba, Gordon Hayward, as well as, Jason Tatum at the top. And then probably Rozier too at his price, 6.3K. So maybe start a lineup with something like that and then go from there. Again, there's not a whole lot of great value plays, but that's how I would go about this 2-game slate. So that's it for that short 2-game slate. Again, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, that will be in the description below. I'll give my thoughts as we get more news throughout the day. We're really not waiting on a whole lot for that 2-game slate, but let's talk about this 4-game slate, the main slate. This is where I will be able to live stream for this one. So let's see. Again, 4 games. There is a decent amount of news we're still waiting for. Doncic and Harden is pretty big, but let's look at some numbers here. That Clippers-Kings game is not on either slate. That's a showdown slate. Not going to be able to break that one down. But we got Golden State and San Antonio sitting at 220 with the Spurs here by 9 points. That's the only, those are the only numbers that are out right now. But as always, let's start with center. And Jokic at 9.3K stands out as a pretty good play here against Houston. Up-tempo game. In a close game, he probably gets over 30 minutes, and he's a little bit underpriced. I know he had a down game there in Sacramento, but he's been really good recently. So I do have a good amount of interest there in Jokic at that price point. Porzingis, so this is dependent on Luka Doncic news. We got both Doncic and Westbrook as questionable. So this changes the entire slate, the status of these two guys, right? So I'll try and talk about it with both being out and both being in. But let's talk about if Doncic is out, then that's when I would look to Porzingis at this price of 7.8K, who has flashed a lot of upside with Luka out of the lineup. So I would very, very much go to Porzingis if Luka's out. If Luka's in, probably not for me. So again, that's something we have to keep an eye on going into tomorrow. Now, this Golden State San Antonio game. This is probably the game I have the most interest in. There's injuries on the Golden State side that's going to open up some value. The San Antonio guys are a little bit too cheap. The Golden State guys are still underpriced. So this is definitely my favorite game if you're going to game stack. Again, I talked about it yesterday with my favorite game being that Portland-Phoenix game. This Golden State-San Antonio game is definitely my favorite game to game stack. Aldridge, 7.6K, has, he's been a little bit up and down, but his upside has been huge, and you can't really get a better spot here than against Golden State. We have Will Cauley-Stein out as well, so I do have a good amount of interest there in Aldridge there at that price point. Kevin Love at 7.5K. He's been really good. Last 4 games, 50, 41, 40, and 47 fantasy points. This is a tougher spot, and it's on the road against Toronto, so there is some blowout risk. Again, this line isn't out yet, but I'd assume it's going to be Toronto, maybe favored by double digits. So, yeah, Love is more of a riskier pivot in my opinion. I don't know if I'm going to get there myself. Now, Clint Capella, another pretty big piece of news. He's listed as questionable. If he misses, we could look to Hartenstein, who started and played 34 minutes. Is really solid that last game, but his price came way up. So, if Capella does play, I would have interest here at 7.4K because I think he probably gets about 35 or so minutes. The good thing with him is he was always playing the big minutes. So, again, that's something we'll have to keep an eye on going into tomorrow. Ibaka at 7.3K. So this Toronto-Cleveland game, I'm not super high on it because I think there's some blowout risk. The Toronto guys, the prices are starting to come up. The prices even on like Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson are coming up. So this game in general, again, there's blowout risk. I'm not super excited about it. I think Ibaka is fine if you get there. I'm probably not going to go there. Again, Tristan Thompson, him and Love's prices have been coming up. It's a tougher spot with some blowout risk. I don't see myself getting there. Steven Adams at 6.6K has been fine. He has flashed a little bit of upside, but again, probably not going to get there myself. Dwight Powell, that price is coming up way too much. Now, he has been good, but at 5.7K, I don't see myself paying for him. I'll talk about some other secondary Dallas pieces who I would look to if Doncic is out. We still got no Marc Gasol, so Hartenstein, again, he was really solid that last game with no Capella, 34 minutes, 39 fantasy points. He's someone we could look to if Capella's out once again. Now, this is not the best spot against Jokic, and his price has come up. So I think he's an okay option if Capella's out, but I wouldn't go out of my way to play him. So we have no Willie Cauley-Stein. That's pretty big news. He was playing, somewhat significant minutes until that last game. I don't know if he got injured in the last game against Dallas. Either way, he was getting about 25 to 30 or so minutes. So those minutes have to go somewhere. Boucher at 4.8. I'm a huge Chris Boucher guy, but the minutes are so inconsistent. If you think this game blows out, you could take a shot here because that's where I think his minutes could get extended. But I don't see myself getting there. I'm a one-lineup guy. I don't see myself getting to Boucher at that price. We have no Paul Millsap. That's pretty significant. I'll talk about some value Denver guys here in a sec. Larry Nance at 4.6K, not for me with Love back. Now, Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee. These two guys stand out as pretty solid value plays in my opinion. First, Jeremy Grant at 4.6. They've been going, switching between him and Plumlee starting when Millsap is out. Either or, I think, are perfectly fine. I think both play some good minutes. I think Jeremy Grant probably gets about 30 or so, maybe a little bit more. I think Plumlee probably gets over 20. Plumlee is the more productive player, but Grant will play more minutes. So both those guys are pretty even for me. I like both a good amount with no Paul Millsap. I think they're very, very solid value plays. Noel's always a guy that's okay. He probably gets about 20 or so minutes. He can get you there that time. But I think I'd prefer those, Denver guys. I think they're going to get a little bit more run. Now, Marquise Chris is probably going to be one of the most popular value plays in the slate, but for good reason. Now, this is assuming he starts. Golden State could do something weird. They could move Draymond to the 5, move Pascal in the starting line. I don't know. We'll see what they do. Now, if Marquise Chris starts, he's going to be the chalk, obviously. But if he starts, I would eat that chalk for sure. He's been pretty productive here one given time, and with no Willie Cauley-Stein, there's minutes to go around. So yeah, I would really like Chris there as a value play if he does start. If he comes off the bench, I would still have interest, but he would be a little bit riskier because I don't think those minutes would be necessarily secure. If he starts, I think he's probably going to get at least 20 to 25 minutes, and at that price, he would stand out as a really, really good value play. Kleber, so the bigs, I wouldn't have a whole lot of interest in, him and Dwight Powell. I would have more interest in those guards and wings if Luka Doncic is out. Trey Lyles at 3.5K. The minutes have been, somewhat secure, I guess, 25, 22, and 20. He's at almost min-price. He's an okay value option here and a good matchup. Tyson Chandler, not for me. Again, I would just prefer paying a little bit more for Hartenstein, or a couple thousand more for Hartenstein if Capella is out. We'll talk about the value, the really cheap Golden State bigs, Samoljic, or I probably botched that pronunciation, but he got 20 minutes at last game against Dallas. If I guess Willie Cauley-Stein is out, but they could do something weird, maybe start him at the center. We'll see. If they do end up starting him for some reason, you can definitely go there at min price. Spellman at min price maybe gets a little extra run too, so we'll see what Golden State ends up doing with their starting lineup. Obviously, whoever starts probably has the best path to get the most minutes, so we'll see. But either way, of those three guys, definitely think Marquise Chris has the most upside. But let's move on to power forward. So, let's see. I already talked about a lot of these guys, most of these guys actually. Gallinari is questionable. That's somewhat significant because OKC is somewhat thin. We also have Schroeder questionable. So this will be something we'll have to monitor going into tomorrow. If Gallinari is out, that's a boost to those other guards with CP3, SGA, and Schroeder. But again, Schroeder's status is up in the air too. We could look to Basley, but his minutes have been down. I'll talk about some other OKC guys here in a sec. Gallinari, if he plays, is one of those. I think he's a perfectly fine option. I don't know if he has huge upside, though, at that price. Danuel House at 5.6K. So a lot of those Houston guys had big games because both Westbrook and Harden were out. We have Westbrook back now, so that definitely takes a hit to a lot of these Houston guys, and the prices all came up. So I don't have a whole lot of interest here in the secondary Houston plays. If Harden does get ruled out, we can take shots, but again, all the prices came up from that last game. Rudy Gay at 5.1, that's a little bit too expensive in my opinion. OG Anunoby at 5K, the minutes have been down on him. I don't think I can go there. PJ Tucker, probably not for me at that price. Dorian Finney-Smith at 4.7. He's a guy that's been playing consistent minutes. I don't think those minutes necessarily change, but his usage might go up a little bit with no Luka, so I don't mind him there if Luka's out. Again, I do really like both those Denver bigs with Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee. Michael Porter Jr. picked up a start for Gary Harris. He played 26 minutes. It looks like Gary Harris is going to be back, though, and at 4.5K, I can't go there. I need to see him play minutes more consistently. CD Osman at 4.4, probably not for me. RHJ's minutes were down. Basley at 4.2K has been starting. He did get 30 minutes that last game. I think he's a guy you can take a shot on, but I wouldn't feel great if Gallinari's out. I still think I'd prefer other value plays like Marquise Chris, like those Denver bigs I just talked about. Let's see, other options. Yeah, so Pascal here's at 3.4K. He's probable. He's been dealing with that hip injury. So this is a situation where they could run more small ball. Again, they could start maybe Draymond at the 5 and move Pascal to the 4. Either way, again, this was something we have to monitor going into tomorrow. If Pascal starts out of a lot of interest here at this price, so again, this is something we all have to keep an eye on with him, Marquise Chris, those other value Golden State guys. We'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup. Other options, I think that is really it though. So let's move on to small forward and DeRozan. So again, a lot of the San Antonio guys stand out. I talked about Aldridge, DeRozan at 7.1K. His price not coming up enough, and this is just one of the best spots here against Golden State. So you've got to have interest here in DeRozan. This game in general, I just have a lot of interest in it. Will Barton, I really like as well. 6.4K. They're just not moving his price. He's a guy that fills up the stat sheet, and he plays consistent minutes. Probably about 35 or so in a close game. This one should be played at a really fast pace. Houston doesn't play a whole lot of defense, so I do like Will Barton as well at 6.4K. Damian Lee. So now let's talk about the other Golden State guys. So we have Willie Cauley-Stein out as well as D'Angelo Russell. So that just opens up a lot here for Golden State. So you got to have interest here in Damian Lee. I really like him at that price. He's been playing consistent minutes, 31, 36, 33. He's a guy that's been filling up the stat sheet. And with no D'Angelo Russell, that's just a lot more easy to go around. So I do like Damian Lee a good amount at that price. And Draymond Green. I think his usage goes up a bit. Maybe he runs a little bit more of the point with no D'Angelo Russell. Either way, I just like a lot of these Golden State guys. So Lee, I like. Draymond Green, I like. Hardaway, this is somewhat significant as well. He is listed as questionable. We got Luka listed as questionable. That's pretty big. If both those guys are out, we can definitely look to some value guys here on the Dallas side, who we'll talk about here in a bit. Eric Gordon at 4.7K, I would have some interest there if Harden does miss. If Harden plays, I would have no interest at this price. If Harden misses, I would have some interest, but we'll see. Again, he was on a minutes limit, only played 22. If Harden is out and Eric Gordon is not going to be on a minutes limit, then I would have more interest here. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on going into tomorrow. Let's see. Other options. Again, the secondary Houston pieces, probably not for me besides like Eric Gordon. And I'll only go with Eric Gordon if Harden is out and Eric Gordon is not going to be on a minutes limit. Glenn Robinson at 4.4K. So I think his minutes go up a bit. All these wings for Golden State, I think the minutes go up a little bit with no D'Angelo Russell. There's just a lot of usage to go around, a lot of minutes to go around too. D'Angelo Russell played about 30 or so minutes. So I think Glenn Robinson probably gets over 30. He's not a guy that has huge upside, but at 4.4K, I think he stands out as a decent value play. Let's see, other options. Kevin Porter Jr. at 4.2K. Has been getting some decent run, 23, 22, 25, and 30 minutes. It's a tougher spot. Again, I think I prefer value plays elsewhere. Pat McCaw, 4.2K, also been getting consistent minutes, 43 and 37 minutes back-to-back games. He did have that one big game, 42 fantasy points. I do have some interest here. He's been a pretty low usage guy, but he did have that one upside game, so at least we know the upside is there. And, I think he, even in a blowout, maybe he gets minutes too, so I do have some interest there in Pat McCaw at 4.2K. Other options, I think that is really it though. Yeah, so let's move on to shooting guard. So this is where the big question mark lies in the slate. The status of Luka Doncic as well as James Harden. Doncic is questionable. He was dealing with that left wrist sprain, I think a back too. If Luka plays at 11.6, I think he's an interesting contrarian spot up because I don't think a lot of people will go there. He's been a bit down since returning from injuries, but yeah, I probably wouldn't get there myself. Now, if he misses, again, that would just open up a lot for the Dallas guys. Porzingis would become a good spend up, and then we can take a look at a lot of those value Dallas guys who we'll talk about here in a bit. Harden at 10.5K is questionable. If he misses, Westbrook gets a huge boost, and maybe a guy like Eric Gordon, if he's not going to be on a minutes limit, I would have interest in, so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on as well. Harden, if he plays, I do like his price. At 10.5K, that's just too cheap, so I would have a good amount of interest there in Harden if he does play because that price tag is really appealing in my opinion. Fred VanVleet, so this is why I'm not super high in this game. The Toronto prices, they're coming up. I think he's okay, but probably not going to get there myself. Yeah, so no D'Angelo Russell. This is the big news. He was playing 30 to 35 or so minutes, and those minutes have to go somewhere. So Burks, Damian Lee, Glenn Robinson, probably a little extra run. I'll talk about Kai Bowman here in a sec, but there's just a lot of minutes and usage ground for the Golden State side. SGA, so him, Chris Paul, and Dennis Schroeder all stand out as pretty solid options if Gallinari misses. Now, if Gallinari and Schroeder miss, then SGA and Chris Paul stand out as really, really good plays. So another situation where we will have to keep an eye on that going into tomorrow. Jamal Murray at 6.8K is a guy that does have upside. I like him for GPPs. He's a little bit up and down, but we know the upside is pretty high for him, and this game should be played at a fast pace. So I do like Jamal Murray for GPPs. Again, I like his upside. Schroeder, he's questionable as well. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. If both him and Gallinari are out, Chris Paul and SGA do stand out as really solid plays. Also, Alec Burks at 5.3K, I think stands out as a really good value play. We'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup. Again, they have no D'Angelo Russell and no Willie Cauley-Stein. So, my best guess is they're probably going to move Burks and Marquise Chris into the starting lineup, but we'll see. Again, they have other options they can use. They can move Draymond to the point. They can move Pascal in the starting lineup. They can use one of those really cheap guys like Smoljic or Spellman. We'll see what Golden State ends up doing. Either way, I have a lot of interest in this Golden State side and a good match against San Antonio. That game in general, I do have a lot of interest in. Gary Harris, so yeah, I believe he is probable, so that takes Michael Porter Jr. obviously out of play. I don't think I'm going to get Gary Harris myself at that price. Now we'll start talking about these value Dallas guys. So this is where the slate changes. If Luka's out, I have a lot of interest in some of these Dallas guys. DeLon Wright was really solid. Now, the issue with him is just the minutes. Even when Luka was out, he was never playing big minutes. So we'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup. Now, if he ends up starting, which I think there's a possibility he could if Luka's out because he's been playing really well, I would have more interest and feel more secure with his minutes. So I do have some interest there in DeLon Wright, especially if he starts if Luka's out. Again, this is all if Luka Doncic is out. Austin Rivers with Westbrook back, can't do that at that price. Let's see, other options. The secondary San Antonio pieces are always okay. One of the guys with like White, Forbes, and Patty Mills will probably have a decent game, but I just never feel confident with these guys. I think those are just like dart throws for GPPs. Now, Seth Curry, I would have a lot of interest in if Luka's out. I think his minutes go up. He's at below 4K. Even JJ Barea. Now, he got some decent run. He got 13 minutes. This is always a guy that when he gets minutes, he's usually pretty productive. And we have both Hardaway and Luka questionable. Those guys are both playing huge minutes, so that would just change the entire slate. If both those guys are out, you'd want to load up on some of these Dallas value guys. Let's see, other options. I think that is basically it for shooting guard. So let's move on to point guard. So Westbrook at 9.6K, I think would be someone I would get to for sure if Harden is out. Now, if Harden's in, probably not for me. I would prefer paying the extra $1,000 for James Harden compared to Russell Westbrook. But if Harden is out, Westbrook stands out as a pretty solid play at under 10K. We know how high of usage guy he is if Harden is out of that lineup. Again, the guys for Toronto, I'm just not super excited about this game. The prices are up. There's some potential for a blowout in this one. So this game is probably going to be a fade for me. But yeah, Chris Paul, SGA, both those guys would stand out if both Gallinari and Schroeder are out. If one of those two guys are out, I still would have some interest here. Chris Paul has been pretty solid, 50 fantasy points to the last 3 games. And again, those guys will get a boost if, Gallinari or Schroeder or both are out. Let's see, other options. DeJounte Murray, I have some interest here at 5.9K. The issue with him is just he's never going to get minutes. He's never going to play 35 or so minutes, at least right now. He's kind of capped at about 28 or so. Now, I do like the matchup. I do think he still can get you there in 28 minutes. But the way roster construction goes right now, I don't see myself getting there. There's guys that are priced similar to him that I just think have a lot more upside, like some of the Golden State guys who know D'Angelo Russell, right? Like Draymond Green, Damian Lee, Burks. There's just a lot of guys in his price range that I probably prefer, so I don't see myself getting to DeJounte Murray. I think I prefer DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge for a little bit more, just because those guys, will probably get minutes into the mid-30s. Let's see, other options. Chris Clemens obviously can't do that with Westbrook back. But yeah, those value Dallas guys, this would, again, I would definitely want to get at least a couple of those guys if both Luka and Hardaway are out with Seth Curry, Jalen Brunson, DeLon Wright. So we'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup if both those guys are out, even JJ Barea, right? But that is, Kai Bowman is questionable with an illness. So that is pretty significant as well, actually, because if he's available to play, I would have a decent amount of interest in him because the minutes have been secure for him, 23, 22, 21, and 23. I think there's a possibility they could maybe move him into the starting lineup for D'Angelo Russell. So we'll see. Again, the starting lineup for Golden State will determine a lot. Whoever starts, I would have probably the most confidence in minutes-wise. So we'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup. If Kai Bowman is available and starts, I would have a lot of interest there at that price. If he's unavailable, that's just more minutes for guys like Burks, Damian Lee, Glenn Robinson, Draymond Green, right? So that's where my thoughts with Kai Bowman. But I think that is going to do it for this video. So again, guys, brief overview. This slate is kind of up in the air because of the status of Luka and Harden. Now, if Luka is out, I definitely want to get a couple of those Dallas value guys in my lineup. Probably would try to get Kristaps as well. And then I do have, again, a lot of interest in this Golden State San Antonio game. Golden State pretty thin. We'll see what they end up doing with the starting lineup. Either way, I have a lot of interest in those Golden State guys as well. And then as far as spend ups go, I think Harden, if he plays, stands out as probably the best spend up. I would have interest in Jokic as well at 9.3. So that's kind of where I lie right now for this 4-game slate. But again, I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content, would really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe. Again, if you want to get in the giveaway, all you have to do is leave a like and a comment in the video. I will be live streaming for this one, probably 45 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check it out. As well as it's important to follow me on Twitter. That will be in the description below. I'll give my thoughts as we get this news throughout the day. But thanks again for everyone to come out to check out the video, guys, and I will see you tomorrow in the live stream.